Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, as part of our special coverage of Austin Film Festival's 26th year, I was lucky enough to chat with Carly Wray. She's a writer and producer on the new Watchmen series at HBO, but she's also worked on Westworld, where she received a Primetime Emmy nomination, and has also worked on the series Leftovers, Mad Men, and more. We talk about her amazing career, the Watchmen show, and so much more. It's a great chat, and I think you'll enjoy. This is Les for the TV Dudes, and I am lucky enough to be here with Carly Wray. Your show pedigree is awesome in terms of things you've worked on. It's dauntingly impressive.
I've had a good run. Knock on something.
I think these are real wood chairs. So yeah, Mad Men, Leftovers, Westworld, Mindhunter, and of course now your CoEP on Watchmen. Can you talk a bit about your career path versus maybe what you had in your head when you were enjoying TV in high school or enjoying writing in college?
Oh man, I mean, I definitely could absolutely never have even hoped to dream that I could start a writing career on Mad Men. I wanted to go into television. I went to grad school at USC and felt like, I'm going to come out of USC and just, shoot right into my career, and instead spent 7 years writing things no one wanted to read and applying to contests and trying to get reps and just kind of being in the wilderness, but learning how to write. And I was ready to take, I wanted any kind of PA job, any kind of writer's assistant job. So the fact that the first one that came up was Mad Men is just like, I kept thinking, if I just get the meeting, if I could just go to the meeting so that I could go into the Mad Men writers' offices, they don't even have to give me the job. Like, that'll be a career highlight. So that I got to start there is I'm amazed by the fortune of that every day, because it was in and of itself kind of the greatest writing education you could get. And then from there, I just held on for dear life. The fact that I had gotten in, I just wanted to say yes to any opportunity that came along and bust my ass and stay in. So then I got very, very lucky to have the relationships that I was able to build out of Mad Men, and just to get to work on a bunch of cool stuff.
In terms of moving into a co-EP role, even being a TV nerd for me, there's so many jobs behind the scenes that aren't necessarily clearly defined by their label.
Yeah.
As a co-EP, what shifted for you from writing to doing this job, and how was that a natural path for you?
So it is really weird. It's weird the ways that it kind of depends on the show how that title relates to what you're actually doing. This idea of like the staff writer and then the story editor and executive story editor, those are mostly jobs. Everybody all the way up to the top, executive story editor, then I think like co-producer, supervising producer, up to EP. For the most part, you are doing the same job, being in the room, breaking story, trying to come up with stories that are going to make the showrunner happy and that serve the vision of the show. But as you climb the ranks, you end up you have a stronger hand in the actual prep of production, and you also just have a little bit more of a guiding and leading voice in the room. I was fortunate enough I've worked with Damon on The Leftovers. Damon has a very room-heavy ethos. He's in the room all the time, which a lot of showrunners are not. The room doesn't happen without Damon. He likes to break story very, very detailed, very down to a very granular, detailed level. So he likes people pitching dialogue, and so that can be a really tricky style to do when you're just starting out. So being a co-EP on a show like Watchmen with Damon is largely about just being someone who is helping move the room forward, who's pitching a lot of story, helping keep the energy of the room moving forward. And then, I also had a hand in a lot of the production prep for as episodes are starting to get on their feet, and the various heads of departments are trying to wrap their head around the art, the casting, the whatever. You kind of become the showrunner's extra hands in getting that stuff ready.
And I'm assuming Is this room experience different than how like Matthew ran a room on Mad Men?
Yeah, they're all different, which continues to surprise me. Every room I'm in, I'm surprised that there can be such a difference between the style of any given showrunner.
More than just whiteboard versus
like car. Yeah. Although that that can be different too. I mean there can be a difference. One of the biggest differences is how involved the showrunner likes for the writers to be in production. So for Damon, there's a real church and state kind of separation. The writers are very involved in the writing and in the room, but the writers don't go to set. Okay. We shot Watchmen in Atlanta, but writers, you're not out on set for your episode. Contrasting that with Westworld, I was technically a lower level producer on Westworld, but Jonah Nolan wants the writers involved in production. To him, that's a very important part of being a writer-producer. So I was on set for 6 months on Westworld.
I know it didn't happen, but my brain just helpfully jumped in with, they sent her to Westworld.
They did. They really did. They sent Boyd, was I sent to Westworld. Yes.
Like, no brain, not really go to Westworld.
I did get to I was in Utah, Santa Clarita, as good as. So the style in that room is very much like you really need to be thinking like a producer at all times because you're actually going to be the person standing on set, accountable for production issues.
We talked a little bit off mic about this. Watchmen is a property that not just the original creator. I mean, Alan Moore is not going to like it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like any adaptations. But the fans of it, it is a property that people can be very protective of. Do you feel like going with this isn't the comic, we are not remaking the comic or the movie, this is a reimagining, do you feel like that helped give you a little more leeway on getting to play with it, or do you feel like the fans were still just ready to pounce?
I think no matter what happens, the fans who are very dedicated to the material were always going to tune in cautiously, possibly skeptically, waiting to be disappointed, waiting to be burned. That's how I feel about, material that's very, very close to my heart, adaptations of books and things like that. I think you can come in with a bit of a chip on your shoulder, like, I dare you to try and, improve in any way or whatever, bring something new to the table with this, to this material. And I think it was the best possible thing that Damon could have done to expand on the concepts and expand on the themes and play in the world of, but not attempt to do a one-to-one adaptation. And I also feel like Damon's passion for the material, I mean, it is near and dear to his heart going back to the moment it came out as a child. So he had the utmost reverence for Watchmen. And so you always knew at any given moment, like, we are operating from a place of love and respect. And I think he felt like the best way to honor the spirit of the original was to just, like, get a little batshit.
I was blown away at the opening of the first episode with the Tulsa race riot. I moved to Tulsa in '96 for a few years, and they had, I think just around then, excavated or excavated a graveyard, still trying to find them. I believe they're still trying to find where all the double graves are. Because the city just denied it happened for years. Watching a show open with it and both being a piece of American history that just doesn't get told enough, but then to anchor the show with it gave me a hook that I wasn't looking for. It was something wholly unexpected. In terms of bringing new things to the show, obviously without spoiling something, have you had a favorite moment where you went, oh wow, that's not in the source material, but God, it should have been?
Well, I mean, I came to the show after the pilot was written. Damon had already written the pilot, so I had the chance to just kind of read the pilot blind. I had no idea what Damon's approach was. I just sent the script, and that opening sequence blew my mind and sets the table for, like, whatever your expectations are for even a super creative or left field adaptation of Watchmen. Reading a script that opens with that there's no way to predict what's going to happen next, and that's an incredibly harrowing and exciting thing to experience when you read a script. I can't think of the last time I read a script where I felt like all of my usual critical faculties are gone. Like it has obliterated them in the first 10 pages.
Yeah.
So, my folks live in Tulsa, and so it did feel like this is this regional piece of history that America has sort of collectively decided not to talk about, and it's so powerful to excavate it and put it back in the conversation. That was right away something that sort of blew me away. And then moving forward, there are moments in the series that I won't spoil that just when they came up in the room felt like, wow, these things really share a spiritual DNA with what Alan Moore did. And I know he will always sort of be oriented against any adaptation of Watchmen, but that I felt excited about because they do feel like spiritual extensions.
That's great. I can't thank you enough for taking time to talk to me about all of it today.
I hope that you enjoy Watchmen moving forward. I can't wait to watch it as it comes.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TVDudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.